You know what? Saving $250,000 is actually halfway to $1 million. And I know that sounds completely wrong. You're probably thinking I failed basic math because 250K is clearly 1/4 of the way to a million, not halfway. But here's the thing. While you're right in terms of dollars, when it comes to time and the actual journey of building wealth, this is exactly where saving 250K puts you, right at the halfway point. Let me show you the math that changes everything. Contributing $10,000 per year and earning an 8% annual return, you'll go from zero to saving $250K in 13.8 years. Now here's the interesting part. How long does it take to build the next $750,000? That's 3 times more money. If you're thinking it's 3 times 13.8 years, that's where you're mistaken. It actually takes another 13.8 years to build that additional $750,000. Same timeline, 3 times the money. Why? Because that $250K you saved is now working for you, earning compound interest. When you combine that growing pile with your ongoing contributions, it's like rolling a massive snowball down a mountain. That snowball picks up more snow with every rotation, getting bigger and heavier as it gains momentum toward your $1 million goal. This is compound interest in action, and it's about to change how you think about saving money forever. Hi, I'm Matt, and on this channel, I break down the real math behind building wealth so you can reach financial independence faster. If you're working toward 100K, 250K, or pushing toward $1 million, hit that subscribe button because we're going deep on the surprising math most people never learn. But compound interest isn't the only thing we're covering. At the saving 250K mark, something strange happens. You'll experience psychological and financial factors that can either accelerate you toward $1 million or completely derail your progress. We're covering the traps that make people too complacent, or worse, make them chase returns that destroy their net worth. While saving $250,000 is an incredible achievement, some people get stuck here forever. That's what we want to avoid. Look at this table showing the relationship between annual contributions and your exact halfway point in time for hitting $1 million. As you increase contributions, you hit that million faster and your halfway point shifts dramatically. At $12,000 per year, you reach $1 million in about 23.6 years, and your halfway point becomes approximately $265,000. If you contribute $24,000 annually, you'll hit $1 million in just 18.4 years, with a halfway point around $325,000. And at $36,000 per year, you're looking at only 14.8 years to $1 million, with your halfway point near $355,000. At the lower end with $5,000 yearly contributions, it takes the longest to reach $1 million, but your halfway point drops to about $207,000. While we could have titled this video Why Saving 200K is Halfway to $1 million, 250K is more relatable since many people can realistically invest $10,000 per year or roughly $833 per month. What's your current savings goal right now? Are you working toward 100K, 250K, or pushing toward $1 million? Now, what if we change return assumptions? At a 5% return with $10,000 annual contributions, you're looking at roughly 24 years to hit $1 million with a halfway point around $185,000. But at a 10% return, the timeline compresses to about 11.8 years with a halfway point near $280,000. Compound interest is extraordinarily sensitive to both time and rate of return. A 2% difference in annual returns can mean retiring at 55 versus 62. That's 7 more years of your life. And this table perfectly illustrates how your net worth accelerates dramatically after crossing that halfway threshold. The first half feels slow and grinding, but once you cross halfway, the acceleration is dramatic. Your money makes money, and suddenly your net worth climbs faster than you thought possible. But here's what nobody tells you about reaching saving 250K. The obstacles you face are completely different than building your first 100K.
Pause for a second and think about this. The biggest obstacle when working toward your first $100,000 is staying disciplined. You're stacking small amounts slowly. Every dollar matters. You resist impulse purchases, say no to expensive dinners, drive your paid-off car instead of financing something flashy. It requires patience because progress feels painfully slow. But challenges at saving $250,000 are different. They're psychological. And these psychological traps are more dangerous than any impulse purchase you avoided in your 20s. The first trap is what I call the I made it syndrome. This is where you could earn more in a single good market day than an entire week of work. If your $250,000 portfolio gains just 2% in one day, that's $5,000. You didn't work overtime. The market just had a good day, and boom, $5,000 appeared. This is psychologically dangerous. Your brain starts making calculations it shouldn't. You see that $5,000 gain and think, I just made $5,000 doing nothing. I can afford that $3,000 vacation or those $800 concert tickets. Why not? I made $5,000 today. Have you ever felt like you've made it after seeing a big portfolio gain? Let me give you a real example from 2024. When Bitcoin ETF approval happened in January 2024, Bitcoin jumped from around $40,000 to over $70,000 in months. People who'd been dollar cost averaging suddenly saw portfolios explode. A friend had accumulated about $35,000 worth of Bitcoin over 3 years. In early 2024, that position suddenly hit over $60,000. That's a $25,000 gain in months. What did he do? Upgraded his car, booked an international trip, started eating out constantly. In his mind, he'd made it. The market validated his strategy, and his brain gave permission to spend. But by mid-2024, Bitcoin pulled back. His portfolio dropped. Those unrealized gains evaporated. But the spending? That was very real. He erased nearly 8 months of disciplined saving in weeks of lifestyle inflation. What's happening psychologically is your brain says you've arrived. You hit saving $250K, and your brain triggers reward mechanisms. It says you deserve to enjoy this success. You've been disciplined. Now relax and enjoy your money. This is particularly dangerous right at the saving $250K mark because you're way closer to $1 million than your brain thinks. Remember, you're at the halfway point in time. Maintain consistency for another 13.8 years, and you'll have $1 million. But if you lifestyle inflate now, you could stretch that timeline to 20 or 25 years or never hit $1 million at all. Also remember this. If you make $5,000 in your investment account on a good day, that's unrealized. It only becomes real when you sell. Until then, it's numbers on a screen that can go up or down. Treating unrealized gains like actual income is one of the fastest ways to sabotage your path to $1 million.
Now let's say you're smart. You don't fall for lifestyle inflation. You keep spending in check. Great. But there's a second trap waiting, and it might be even more dangerous. It's the return chasing trap. Since you successfully built wealth to saving $250K, your brain makes a dangerous assumption. It concludes you must be good at all financial decisions. This is where the Dunning-Kruger effect reaches its final form. That's the cognitive bias where people with limited expertise dramatically overestimate their competence. The cruel irony is it's almost impossible to overcome because lack of expertise prevents you from understanding how little you know. What percentage of your income are you currently saving? And are you keeping that money in simple, proven investments, or are you tempted to chase higher returns? You see this constantly with investing. People make money on 1 or 2 good trades and suddenly think they're the next Warren Buffett. Maybe they bought tech stocks that did well. Maybe real estate appreciated. Their brain takes limited success and extrapolates it into belief they have special market insight. During the 2021 meme stock mania, regular retail investors made extraordinary returns on GameStop and AMC. People who'd never actively traded were turning $10,000 into $50,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars in weeks. Online forums filled with overnight success stories. What happened? They assumed success was skill rather than luck and timing. They kept trading, got more aggressive, started using options and leverage. When the meme stock bubble burst in late 2021 and 2022, most gave back all gains and then some. Studies showed the majority of retail traders in the meme stock craze ended up losing money overall despite early wins. And this exact pattern repeated during the 2021 to 2022 crypto winter. Bitcoin hit nearly $69,000 in November 2021. Ethereum was over $4,800. People with modest crypto holdings suddenly had 6-figure portfolios. Many took their success as confirmation they understood crypto markets and went all in. They bought more at the top. They invested in obscure altcoins promising 100x returns. They took out loans to buy more crypto. By November 2022, Bitcoin had crashed to $16,000. Ethereum dropped below $1,200. Those same people who felt like geniuses in 2021 watched 70 to 80% of their portfolio value evaporate. The ones who survived were those who stuck to their original dollar-cost averaging strategy and didn't get overconfident chasing parabolic returns. The Dunning-Kruger effect doesn't mean you're not intelligent. It means you might lack expertise you think you have. In investing, one overconfident move can erase 2 to 5 years of wealth building. The math is brutal. Lose 50% on an investment, and you need 100% gain just to get back to even. Just because you save $250,000 through steady, disciplined investing doesn't mean you should suddenly take $50,000 and trade options. It doesn't mean chase the next hot cryptocurrency or invest in your cousin's startup. The name of the game at saving 250K is keep accumulating wealth systematically and don't risk so much capital that you start over from scratch. Now, while accumulating wealth on your way to $1 million, there's one more psychological trap to avoid: the comparison trap. Now that you're doing well financially with saving 250K, it's incredibly easy to start comparing yourself to people with $500,000, $1 million, or $2 million. Despite having $250,000 saved, it's easy to feel poor. You look on social media and see people driving Teslas, living in luxury apartments, traveling constantly, and you question your progress. The FIRE movement on social media makes this comparison trap even more intense. You scroll through YouTube and see 28-year-olds claiming they retired with $800,000. Instagram shows people traveling full-time while earning passive income. Reddit forums are filled with posts about people hitting $1 million by age 30. And you're sitting there with your 250K thinking you're behind. But here's what those posts don't show you. They don't mention the $150,000 inheritance that gave them a head start. They don't talk about the spouse's income carrying the household expenses. They don't reveal the high-risk crypto bets that happen to work out during a bull market. They're showing you the finish line without showing you the full race. And it's toxic for your mental health and your wealth-building journey. Remember, everyone is on their own financial journey. You might have completely different goals compared to friends, coworkers, or especially people on social media. Nobody on social media shows their entire financial picture. They're not posting about debt. They're not showing empty retirement accounts. They show the highlight reel, the carefully curated version of success. There's a term for this: the 30K millionaire. These are people earning $30,000 to $50,000 yearly, but spending like they have millions. They lease expensive cars they can't afford, wear designer clothes on credit cards, live in luxury apartments consuming 50% or more of income, and they post it all on social media, creating an illusion of wealth that's completely fake. According to research on millionaires, most truly wealthy people live well below their means. That's how they became wealthy. There's a powerful insight from the millionaire next door. If your goal is to become financially secure, you'll likely attain it. But if your motive is to make money just to spend money on looking rich, you're never going to make it. Don't be a 30K millionaire. Be an actual millionaire.
So if you want to reach $1 million as quickly as possible from saving 250K, I want to share 3 specific strategies that will accelerate your timeline. Think of this as your blueprint for the second half of the journey. The first strategy is automate absolutely everything. If you haven't automated finances at this point, it's now non-negotiable. You have enough money at the saving 250K level that you cannot afford big emotional mistakes. And the biggest mistake is touching your investments. If you automate contributions from your paycheck to automatically fund your 401k, Roth IRA, and taxable brokerage account, and have that money systematically invested into index funds, you're ahead of most people. From saving 250K to $1 million, we know it takes roughly 13.8 years, contributing $10,000 yearly at 8% returns. That's 168 months of consistent behavior. If you're checking your portfolio weekly and making emotional decisions, the probability you make it through all 168 months without touching anything is essentially 0. Emotions get in the way. Fear and greed take over. You panic during downturns, get overconfident during bull markets, and you make mistakes. During the 2023 Silicon Valley Bank collapse in March, there was genuine panic in financial markets. Regional banks were failing, people worried about contagion spreading through the entire banking system. The stock market had violent swings. In 1 week, the S&P 500 dropped nearly 5%, banking stocks down 20% or more. I know someone who had about $280,000 saved then. He watched news constantly, saw the fear, made an emotional decision to sell everything and move to cash. He thought he was protecting his money. The market is crashing, he told himself. I'll buy back when things stabilize. But the Federal Reserve stepped in, the banking crisis was contained, and the market recovered within weeks. And this person never bought back in. He kept waiting for the big crash that never came. Fast forward to late 2024, and the market is significantly higher than where he sold. If he left his $280,000 invested and automated contributions, that money would be worth over $340,000 today. Instead, he's sitting in cash, barely keeping up with inflation, missing over $60,000 in gains. That's the danger of not automating. Emotions sabotage you every time. So strategy 1 is boring but essential. Automate your savings, get money invested in diversified index funds, and don't touch it. Let compound interest work over the next 13.8 years. Would you trade a longer commute for $12,000 extra per year? The second strategy to hit $1 million faster is optimize the big three expenses: housing, transportation, and food. When trying to save your first $100,000, every dollar matters. The $6 latte, the $15 takeout lunch, forgotten subscriptions all add up and slow wealth building. But at the saving $250K mark, the big three matter exponentially more because they typically represent 60 to 70% of most budgets. If you're spending $3,000 monthly on rent in a high cost of living city, but could spend $2,000 on a comparable apartment in a slightly less trendy neighborhood or suburb, that's an extra $12,000 yearly. That extra $12,000 per year invested at 8% returns compounds to an additional $250,000 to $300,000 by the time you reach $1 million. One single decision about where you live has massive impact on your entire financial trajectory. Same principle applies to transportation. You don't need a brand new car with a $600 monthly payment when a reliable used car with no payment serves you just as well. That $600 monthly invested instead becomes $72,000 over 10 years in contributions alone, not counting compound interest. With compound interest, that's well over $100,000. And food follows the same story. Eating out 15 times monthly at $25 per meal is $375 monthly or $4,500 yearly. Cut that in half by cooking more at home, and you've freed up another $2,250 annually to invest toward your $1 million goal. The goal isn't to live like you're broke, it's to be intentional with spending and recognize the big three categories have the most dramatic impact on how quickly you build wealth. Small optimizations in housing, transportation, and food can shave years off your timeline to reach $1 million.
The third strategy is leverage your career more strategically. At saving $250K, you don't have enough to completely retire, but you have enough to take more calculated risks with your career. You have breathing room, you have options. That's powerful. You can negotiate harder for raises because you're not desperate. Walk away from a toxic job without panicking about next month's rent. Even take a short-term pay cut for a role with significantly higher upside 5 or 10 years down the line. Let me give you an example from the 2022 tech layoffs. Major companies like Meta, Amazon, Google, and Twitter laid off thousands. Many of these people had solid savings, and instead of scrambling for the first available job, they took time to find better opportunities. Some negotiated higher salaries. Others pivoted into entirely new roles with more growth potential. Some even started businesses. Compare that to someone with no savings who gets laid off. They have no leverage. They take whatever job they can find as quickly as possible, often at lower pay than before. But when you have saving $250K in the bank, you can be strategic. You can wait for the right opportunity instead of settling for whatever's available. If you had $250K today, what would your biggest temptation be? Would it be upgrading your lifestyle, or would you use it as leverage to build even more wealth? This $250K can also let you invest in yourself. Maybe there's a certification or education that can increase your income by $15,000 to $20,000 yearly for the next decade. If that certification costs $10,000 or $15,000, you can afford it without taking on debt. That investment in yourself could accelerate your timeline to $1 million from 13.8 years down to maybe 9 or 10 years. Here's my main point. The math is completely in your favor once you hit saving $250K. You're at the halfway point in terms of time. The hardest part of the journey is behind you, but this is not the time to get reckless, and it's definitely not the time to get complacent. You now understand the math. You understand the psychological traps. You know about the I made it syndrome, the return chasing danger, and the comparison trap. And you have 3 concrete strategies to accelerate your path from saving $250K to $1 million. Automate everything, optimize the big 3 expenses, and leverage your career strategically. If you hit this saving $250K benchmark at a relatively young age, maybe in your 30s or early 40s, you're positioned incredibly well for financial independence and retirement planning. The compound interest working in your favor over the next 10 to 15 years is going to be extraordinary. And if you're not at saving $250K yet, that's completely fine. Maybe you're working toward $50,000 or $100,000. The principles are the same. Stay consistent, avoid lifestyle inflation, keep investing, and let time and compound interest work their magic. At what net worth number would you feel financially secure? Is it $250K? Is it $500K? $1 million? Or something else entirely? Everyone's number is different, and that's okay. The key is to have a number, work toward it systematically, and avoid the traps that derail most people along the way.
The surprising math we covered today shows you that saving 250K truly is halfway to $1 million in terms of time. And once you cross that threshold, the acceleration becomes real. Your money starts working harder than you do, compound interest takes over, and suddenly, that $1 million milestone that seemed impossibly far away is right there within reach.